Struggling to earn 3 stars at Town Hall 17? Well, these are the 5 best attack strategies you need to use for more 3 stars. Starting off at number 5, we have the Mass Totem Dragon attack. This is still going to be a particularly strong attack even after the balance changes, mainly due to how strong the totems are for distracting. We're going to use the Queen on one side though to snipe down any air defenses and sweepers, and even activate any invis towers with her giant arrow while being tanked for by her action figure. We're also going to use the Royal Champion with her Electro Boots to clear trash buildings and the Rocket Spear to clear defenses from a distance. We can also use a few dragons or dragon riders to set up a bit of funneling before we send in the rest of our dragons alongside our Grand Warden and the Minion Prince with the Stone Slammer. This is going to kind of allow us to really get in quite comfortably, and we could even use rocket balloons to snipe any existing air defenses that are reachable from the outside. This way we can actually push our way in, and we have a great funnel set where we have a rage spell to provide a lot of support, and we also have the Grand Warden's Eternal Tome and Healing Tome to basically protect everything as they work into the core. Our totem spells are used every so often to keep defenses at bay against our dragons and keep everything moving. For the Minion Prince, we have his Dark Orb that can be used to slow down a bunch of these defenses, which also allows the totem spells to get way more value. Otherwise, we're just going to consistently use our totem spells to distract defenses, and thus we should be able to 3-star with no problems. In this situation, if you're able to clear all the air defenses, the Lava Loon Puppet might not be a bad idea to have instead of the Healing Tome to basically add additional units, and this might work post buff because of the 3 Lava Loons. We'll have to wait and see, but it is an exciting time to use air attacks. Up next at number 4, we see the Fireball Rocket Balloon strategy. This is quite a difficult attack, so we want to start off with the Grand Warden charge. In this situation, we are using the Angry Jelly. We can use this to our advantage to clear out defenses early on. We can even use a rage spell if we're taking a little too much damage, and that way, we're also able to use all of the trash buildings around the Grand Warden as anchor buildings for the fireball to be sent in properly without the warden moving. So as we just go along with this, the Angry Jelly allows the warden to target defenses for the first 35 seconds. This is where you can then allow him to then attack anything else and use your invisibility spells on nearby defenses before using the fireball and 2 earthquake spells to clear the core of the base. Usually if you can get rid of the enemy CC, that is a win in my books. Otherwise, we want to make sure that the warden is going in the right direction, so we need to set up a bit of funneling. So having some furnaces can definitely work, or maybe even some super barbarians if you're able to take any. But otherwise, you want to make sure that you are then using the siege barrack on the other side to create a bit of funneling before using your Archer Queen and Barbarian King to start moving in with a hero dive. Since this attack is mainly using rocket balloons, you want to get the most out of your hero dive with your Barbarian King and Archer Queen moving in. Super wall breakers are there to open up the base to allow you to keep moving while the warden is constantly walking on the outside. As you work into the base, you can use the Barbarian King Spiky Ball and Earthquake Boots to really open up the base for your Archer Queen, where with her Magic Mirror and action figure and underneath the rage, you can actually start powering through a bunch of the defenses. From this point on, you can use your Royal Champion to help clear through back-end defenses and even have a few rocket balloons to support. But with the Royal Champion, we've got her Rocket Spear and the Frost Flake. The Frost Flake is going to support basically our rocket balloons towards the back end with the freeze alongside our heroes, while the Royal Champion is able to safely clear through those defenses with the rocket spears from a safe distance. Otherwise, this all around helps your entire attack absolutely clear through and get 3 stars. You just need to make sure that that fireball goes in the right direction. Moving over to number 3, we see the Fireball Thrower attack, which is particularly strong due to their buff in the Town Hall 18 update. Otherwise, we want to make sure that we're setting up a bit of funneling here by starting off with the Grand Warden Walk, with a few furnaces to provide a little bit more support for our warden and also provide a bit of distraction. Otherwise, this walk is just being used to set up a bit of funneling and clear some outer defenses before we need to use an anchor spell like the Ice Block spell in order to make sure that the Warden's not wandering. This way we can use our invisibility spells on nearby defenses before sending the Fireball in, and 2 Earthquake spells to clear as many defenses around there as possible. This allows us to set up a really good funnel for our throwers, but the Warden can continue to walk, clear out some other remaining defenses like the Inferno Tower, which can be fairly annoying, especially if the Warden isn't locked onto it. Otherwise, we need to set up the other side of our funnel. The Barbarian King with the Snake Bracelet is perfect here, since it gives him a lot of HP to work with, and he's going to be able to set up a solid funnel for our throwers. We don't need him inside the base because he's going to open too many walls with the Earthquake Boots. So that's why we want to use Super Wall Breakers to get as deep into the base as we can. This way, the throwers have a nice push in, and underneath the Rage Gem, they're going to do a lot of damage. As you work into the core of the base, you have the Troop Launcher to provide balloons and Yetis as you work in, and totem spells can be used to distract things like the Fire Spitters. So as you work a little bit deeper into the base, you've got a Rage spell to power up your throwers, and even the Royal Champion can be used here to help clear through some of the defenses as you work in. She also has the Frost Flake here, so it can be very useful, especially towards the back end where you might not have many spells left. And this is where it can help your throwers. They'll take less damage and they'll be able to at least guarantee those buildings go down. Obviously, we just want to make sure that our throwers are just constantly moving through. The Royal Champion is providing her support on the back end, while the throwers are doing the main bulk of the damage. The freeze from the Frost Flake really helped a lot in terms of keeping our throwers alive, while also just being able to guarantee the damage with them and with the Royal Champion. Otherwise, as long as you have a bit of cleanup and you're not slow with the Fireball, you should 3-star most of the time with the throwers. Over at number 2, we see the Super Bowler Smash, another troop that got buffed in the Town Hall 18 update by a pretty decent amount. We're going to be mainly starting this off with the Grand Warden Walk. We are using this to set up funneling, and since we don't have the Fireball, we want to make sure that we are not letting him go too far away from where we want to start moving into the base. So with the Grand Warden, we're just going to set up funneling for our Super Bowlers. Additionally to this, we should have the Flame Flinger to pair up with the Warden. The Warden in this case is used to tank things like mortars and Expo Fire, so the Flame Flinger can guarantee value. You can also use a Totem spell to distract Expo Fire, but try to keep this out of range of other defenses, otherwise it's going to go down a lot quicker. You also just need to make sure that you are probably using multiple with it to keep it alive. Otherwise, on the other side, we're using the Queen with her action figure and magic mirror to set up funneling, with an Ice Golem to provide a bit of a death freeze. This allows our Super Bowlers to actually start working into the base without any issues. So we want to make sure that as we enter in, we use a Totem spell to distract any key defenses and a Rage spell to really boost up their damage. As they work a little bit closer to the core, we can obviously use the Barbarian King's Earthquake Boots and Spiky Ball to get a lot of value, along with the jump spell. We also have the Royal Champion in this position to move in with our push, providing support with the Electro Boots and the Frost Flake to slow down defenses, especially those that are raged up. This allows us to pretty much use any leftover free spells towards the back end, and overall it keeps a lot of our Super Bowlers alive as everything works around. This, for the most part, should guarantee you a 3-star so long as you have enough cleanup, but with more than enough troops clearing through a bunch of different buildings and defenses, you more often than not should be able to 3-star with Super Bowlers, especially after their buff. And last but not least, at number 1, we see the Fireball Meteor Golems. This is just absolutely strong because of how tanky the Meteor Golems are. So that's why we're going to be starting off with a Grand Warden Walk just to set up a bit of funneling. We want to make sure that we are using something like a storage to anchor our Warden. So that way, what we're able to do is get that Fireball as deep into the base as we can. This does allow us to get a lot more value, like targeting a Rage Spell Tower Tower in this situation, where we can use our invisibility spells on nearby defenses and use our Fireball, 2 Earthquake spells to clear out a majority of the base. This is a fantastic funnel that we set, so we're able to then use the Archer Queen and Barbarian King to set up funneling on the outskirts, while the Meteor Golems work on the inside of the base. Since they already ignore walls and the King and Queen don't without any special conditions, that realistically it's better to have them for funneling. This is why we can use something like a Skeleton spell to distract the Monolith while our Meteor Golems are working in. We also have a Troop Launcher to provide balloons to look for any seeking air mines and red air bombs as we work through the base. We also have an Overgrowth that typically I recommend using over a back-end compartment, such as the Rage Spell Tower, or to create a bit more funneling. We can also have the Royal Champion work in with our Meteor Golems, and with the Frost Flake, again, she's going to be able to provide enough support, especially since we kept the Rage Spell Tower compartment alive. So as we slowly but surely work towards it, we can use a Rage spell once that Overgrowth expires, a Totem spell to distract defenses, and the Frost Flake to basically freeze up all of those defenses and render them useless. Otherwise, as we reach the back end, we want to use defenses, or we want to use spells like any leftover Totem spells to pretty much distract defenses, and overall, your Meteor Golems are absolutely going to shred through with more than enough funneling and troops alive to be able to easily clear through and basically 3-star most bases at Town Hall 17 with it. Now, each of these attacks are quite reliable and fairly easy for you to pick up and start playing so long as you follow the tips in this video. If you do need a refresher on the Fireball, I recommend checking out this guide right here, but YouTube says you might like this video instead.